All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to another show. You could be anywhere today, but you are here with us right now. And we have a very, very special guest, my man from Lunch Money Bets and the newly minted Backyard Media Backyard Action Media, Mr. DWeezy. Why don't you introduce yourself, sir, and let us know what you got going on?
Yes, folks, it's DWeezy, and like your man said, the newly launched Backyard Action Media, where I'll be dropping betting knowledge, betting plays, what I'll be on, probably releasing a weekly video, maybe a pop-up video here and there. You can still catch me every Wednesday on LBHT doing the Lunch Money Bets segment. Uh, and yeah, I'm just here with my man Hendo to cover some recent events and something that's been on our minds recently. And I know me, I might have a little bit of a few hot takes that not many Ravens fans will agree with, but I'm all right with that.
Like I told you a couple minutes ago, sir, please don't hurt him because we know how you get down and you don't pull any punches. Like not today, sir. It's a little too early in the daytime for us to be getting into that, man. But you know, let's start the show. I wanted to talk a little bit about a few things about the Ravens draft, what's going on with the Carolina Panthers, because you can't come on here and we not talk about your team and what's going on with them. But I really want to get into this Baltimore Ravens situation with the wide receivers. And I hate to say this, but Baltimore Ravens fans, you fall for anything that the Ravens say. I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but they could come out and say, "Listen, we are going to sign King Joffrey from Coming to America," and y'all be like, "Man, we getting King Joffrey. We about to get this money and do some other things." Like when they say they want to do their due diligence on this wide receiver room, I don't believe it. Like I'm not believing that. Like you should have done your due diligence when you were doing the draft. Like that should have been a priority at that time. I just heard an interview with Eric DeCosta saying that if Jordan Davis was available, we were going to take him. Why? Why? But go ahead, Derek. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, kind of like what you said, I think a lot of the Ravens fan base, they want to believe what they want to believe, and that's all right. That's the same can be said for everybody. Me personally, I try and base my opinions on what a team's maybe trying to do based off their movements, team philosophy, things like that. You look at this draft, going into the draft, wide receiver was a need. That's simple. You don't even make it out of the first round and you have one less wide receiver than you started the draft with. You've either released or traded three of the top five wide receivers from the previous year, two of which were probably your top two. They went out and got a couple offensive linemen, which was a need, something that needed to be addressed. But in my opinion, a team that's been more dedicated to running the ball than any other team in the league over the past 3 to 5 years went out and got a couple linemen, no wide receivers, no receiving threats.
A safety.
Yeah, they went defense. Who was shocked that the Ravens went defense with their first round pick at, what were they picking, 14?
14.
Yeah, see, you know,
Like
and and like I said, I do think it was a good move the way they came back into the first round to get a higher
limp.
level offensive lineman. Yeah, by no means do I think that's a bad move. But at the same time, when I look at this draft, what I see a team, you look at the offensive coordinator, the head coach, the personnel they have in place, the moves they've made. They're looking to run the ball, not throw the ball. And that
I'm gonna
actually
be
leads directly into something I've been saying for a little while now. You know, I don't feel Lamar is going to re-sign in Baltimore. And as painful as that sounds, that's not me being a hater. Like I said, I'm trying to base my opinion in facts and things that have occurred. When you look at this from the standpoint of a quarterback, especially in today's football, in today's game, you want to see an organization that's putting pieces around you for you to excel at as a quarterback.
That
Baltimore's
is,
not doing that.
yeah, that is factually correct. I mean, and what I have an issue with is, and I don't like comparing. I don't like comparisons. Comparing us with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is our main rival, it hurts me to my soul. So even with Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson, the Steelers went out and they drafted George Pickens and Calvin Austin the third. Now we wanted Calvin Austin, but we thought, you know what, we're gonna be slick and get this punter and then circle back around. And if the receiver's there, we're going to get him. And it didn't happen. And Pittsburgh is just a prime example of we had a need at wide receiver because we only had two, and we went out and we got some more. We had a need at wide receiver, like you said, traded one and needed two and didn't get any. And now we think a bunch of undrafted free agents are going to come in here and do what starters on our team have not done for 2 years. Because I hate to say it, y'all, Proche, Duvernay, Wallace, they haven't done it. And you can say, oh, they just need the time and they just need this. Well, didn't they get the time in practice to show what they could do? Didn't they get the time doing OTAs and everything to show that, hey, maybe I need more playing time, and it just didn't happen? Oh,
See, a good example I look at when people bring up players like that, Michael Gallup was what, a fourth, fifth round pick?
yep.
He earned playing time, he got snaps. You do it through practice. Like you said, you do it through OTAs. You go out there and beat the other people on your roster that are above you. Yeah, Pittsburgh may not have the QB answer,
Mm-hmm.
but they at least went out and tried to address the problem. They
Facts.
said we have a hole at QB and we brought in two separate people to potentially fill that hole. Now that doesn't mean that, oh, they're QBs of the future. That doesn't mean they'll be there in 5 years. But they had a hole and they made attempts to address it. You can completely disagree with the players they took to address it, but they at least are making strides to fill that hole.
All right. So he says it's getting old talking about wide receivers. Yes, it is getting old. It is. It has been, in my case, I can't speak for all Ravens fans, a decade long battle. You say you're tired of talking wide receivers. I'm tired of talking wide receivers. I'm tired of asking the Baltimore Ravens to get wide receivers. We have done this for the majority of our existence, and it's still the same problem. We don't feel like it's a need. We don't feel like it's a priority. And come playoff time, we're sitting there saying, oh man, he dropped this ball. He didn't get open. He didn't do that. We need a wide receiver, wide receiver. But then when it comes to offseason and it comes time to acquire them, oh man, they're not worth that money. Was Stephon Diggs worth that money in Buffalo? I think he was. I mean, he turned Josh Allen into a Pro Bowl, All Pro QB. So please don't tell me that this is getting old. Because listen, if we address this need, we no longer need to talk about it. Because guess what? We don't need to talk about. We don't need to talk about safety. We don't need to talk about the defensive back room because we've acquired pieces to get up there and make that room better. We have not done that with wide receiver. We're expecting third, second year players and undrafted free agents and rookies to fill a need for a professional football team. So yes, I'm getting tired of it too.
I've honestly never seen a team that thought they could field a roster through the fourth round of a draft. Like, I'm completely shocked that they literally made all those picks. Like, I'm pretty sure any other organization would have packaged something, and not necessarily to try and move up higher in that round, maybe even gather something for the following year. But
Right.
you had what, five
What's going on?
fourth round picks?
What? We had six fourth round picks.
Six. See,
Six.
six. Can't even count them on one hand. Like, you telling me you couldn't put two or three of those together and get a third for next year?
Listen, they could have done anything that they darn well chose to do, but they chose to bypass on it. Like we've all discussed this. They should have moved up. They should have moved up from 14. Once London went at 8 and then Wilson left, you should have been like, you know what? We only got like one or two more cracks at this. Let's get ahead of these teams. But it's just something that we didn't do. And like Sanju says, you know, nobody knows. And that's the whole thing. Everybody wants to go off of potential. Potential doesn't win games. Players do. Dudes that have the ability to perform in their job at a high level. And apparently they aren't performing at a high level because I need to know between these three guys, which one of them is starting on any other team. Can anybody tell me that? Can you tell me? Yeah, exactly. It's dead silence. It's dead silence. And see, and this is the problem that it's not only a Lamar thing, it's a mobile quarterback thing. They feel like these mobile quarterbacks can go out here and win games by themselves and they don't need any help. Patrick Queen needs help and he's nowhere close to being a weapon. Why doesn't Lamar need help? I mean, come on, y'all. We are the only organization in professional sports that think that getting too much of talent at a specific position is illegal. It's just it doesn't make sense that everybody's like, we good here, we good here. But we went out and picked a safety when it was definitely not a need. And it's, oh my God, he's an EDC's a genius. He just knows how to maneuver the draft. No, the dude fell down because he wasn't a top 5 pick and we just scooped him up because he was the best player available. So come on.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes is a weapon. Guess what? Andy Reid still says we put weapons around Patrick Mahomes.
Hmm. Say that again, sir. And Patrick Mahomes is regarded as possibly
But
the best quarterback in the league.
yeah, I was gonna say top three, hands down. In your sleep. So you know, even Andy Reid said, Tyreek Hill was a weapon, and even moving on from him, you look at the haul they got back. I'm pretty sure within, you know, I don't know exactly all the players the Chiefs took in the draft, but I'm pretty sure between this draft and the following draft, with what they got from the Hill trade, there's going to be a couple wide receivers in there. There's going to be a couple of low line, but they also went out in the free agency and tried to acquire, you know, top talent available on the market.
Right.
Juju may not be, top 5 wide receiver. There's some pretty good wide receivers out there, but he's top 10, top 15. You got a
Mhm.
wide receiver room that's probably been one of the better ones over the course of the past 2, 3, 4 years. So even before you get into the X's and O's and who's done what on the field, you're talking about trying to set your players up for success. Just because they're good enough to do it alone doesn't mean you should send them out there alone to do it.
That is facts. Now, he said they replaced everyone that left. Why do you think they drafted Bateman? They drafted Bateman because Hollywood was the only decent receiver that we had in the room. Now, don't get me wrong. Bateman is a good wide receiver, but he's not a game changer.
Hold up. How
We
do you qualify him as a replacement when they acquired him before they moved on before the other people? Like, you can, yeah,
But see,
like,
but this is part of the problem, though. This right here is part of the problem because if you knew back when Hollywood wanted out, back before you drafted Bateman, and you still went into the offseason this year and didn't get a wide receiver, I mean, what does that say about your value or your evaluation of how you feel about Lamar? Like, it's not making any sense. Oh, look, another first round a dud. So, yeah. All right, so I guess this is enough to talk of wide receivers because you know me, I get a little incited every now and again when I start talking about the moves that have and have not been made. Now, I want you, sir, to speak upon the perception of the Ravens outside of our own fan base, because we are split down the middle as far as they do enough, they don't do enough. And you and I have been in a lot of Twitter spaces that have gotten kind of rowdy because people disagree and they don't believe the same thing on the direction of where we're going as a team. So could you please speak on that, sir?
I mean, yeah, I think you see a lot of it within, all fan bases, but from my experience from being around some of the Ravens spaces and other things just with the Raven fan base, um, I mean, y'all just eat up what the organization says. Like y'all out here as the poster children for the organization. Yeah. And that's not always a bad thing, but you gotta you gotta hold your organization responsible. You know, when they
Hmm.
say one thing and do another, you know, did that work out? Did that benefit us? There's certain things like that. When you talk about building around certain players, I think some of these people they have a perception and they tend to believe what they want to believe as far as what's going to make them happiest. Nobody wants to sit here and say, "Oh, my team's going to be sorry. My team's going to suck." You know, but at the same time, you can't look at a roster and be like, "Oh, this roster ain't a top 10 roster, but yo, we number 1 to get the Super Bowl this year."
Right.
Like those things don't add up. You know, there's nothing wrong with having a genuine perspective of your team. Yeah, my Panthers for a long time, they were and to a certain degree, still a little bit, a run heavy team. Like people forget back in '03, the Panthers started this whole dual running back movement that sort of took over the NFL for about a decade or so. And you even you see it now. You know, these running back by committees, it's not trash running backs, you know, it's just those borderline guys that may not be a full-time starter but still are a threat with the ball in their hand.
Hmm.
You know, at the point in time that Cam Newton came around for the Panthers, it was still a very run heavy, run based team. You know, at no point in time was anybody going to be like, oh, the Panthers about to go out here and lead everybody in passing and receiving. And no. Now, that doesn't mean you don't think the offense wasn't going to be good.
All right.
It's about having, that genuine perspective. Now, something I've noticed paying a little attention, not necessarily mainstream media, but the perception outside of the fan base from things I've heard. Oh, they're eating it up. I see where some of the fan base gets it from. Yeah, like I do.
Yeah, I don't see it. I understand certain things, and we were a team, except for maybe the first 3 years of existence, founded on defense. And that's what we won with. That's what we know. And when you start to get older, you start to kind of fight against change. Like, change is not good for you. And we are kind of pushing back against this evolution of the new NFL. We don't want to do the new NFL. We don't like the new NFL because what'll end up happening is, if we don't make it, who are we going to blame? We can't blame Lamar, but they try to. We can't blame this Hall of Fame coach that we have. So if we stick to what we know and we come up short, we will be okay. So, you know, that's that. But I want to get into this Carolina Panthers draft, because media wide, they say that you all have had the number one draft of every other team in the NFL. And I like what y'all did. Like, you had holes on your team and you addressed them, just like somebody said earlier about Pittsburgh doesn't have a quarterback. Guess what they did? They needed a quarterback and they drafted one. Will
Yeah.
he be the end all be all? No, but I guarantee you, if they don't work out, they'll go back and get another. So, let me know what you think about what you guys did in the draft.
Yeah, I think going offensive line was the appropriate way to go with this draft. Um, you get a lot of smoke behind QBs every season. This year, possibly more than others. We saw the way that the QBs getting drafted rolled out. You don't see too many drafts like this where you don't have that surge of QB going. And I thought addressing the O line was the most important part because I think this past year showed us, regardless of who you put under center, if your O line can't stand up, it doesn't matter who's back there. It's that simple. Y'all, as the Ravens saw Lamar struggle behind a bad offensive line. I'm willing to bet Sam Darnold ain't Lamar. So if Lamar is struggling with a bad offensive line, I'm not going to be relying on anybody like a Sam Darnold to do much back there.
Right.
So, you would, again, as we were just saying, they brought in offensive line in the free agency and still went out and took offensive line with their first picks at 6. Now, this was a draft where, from a total picks perspective, yeah, we didn't have many. Part of that in a lot of ways had to do with the deals they made last year, the Sam Darnold deal, the deal they got them CJ Henderson. Uh, Now I do like one perspective that the management put on that. They viewed CJ Henderson as a third round pick this year, since that's
Right.
what they gave up for him. Now, you're talking about player going into their third year. It may sound a little unusual for a team to view it that way, but I can understand the logic there. It's still a young player. You're talking about somebody that still they had a lot of talent coming out of college. You know, if this was somebody that was drafted a little bit later and you said they needed a little development phase, well, you're talking 1-2 years, and you're looking at that third year to see some real success.
Right.
Uh, Now I do like that they were able to get back into the third round. That was actually some I follow some of the local sports talk here because I am in Charlotte, home of the Panthers. Uh, there was a Fitterer was on the radio doing an interview, and they flat out asked him, "Hey, should I be watching the draft tonight or should I be watching the Ozarks release?" Flat out, basically, y'all getting back into this third round or something, should I be on the lookout? Fitterer
Yeah.
said, don't watch Ozarks. Don't do it. And they
Right. Because
got
y'all
back
had traded all
into,
your pick. Y'all traded all your picks away, right?
for the most part, yeah, we weren't, I believe it was basically we drafted in the first and then we would be drafting in the sixth. Uh, but beyond that, they were able to pick up a couple picks. Yeah. But yeah, Matt Corral, possibly a developmental quarterback, but
Right.
again, you get into that trying to address needs. Is he, the guy for the next 5 years? No. But can't nobody say that there was much talent in the QB room in Carolina to begin with. So is it going to hurt to bring in some young guy who might have a little bit of pop and flair that can get you some success over a season or two?
True. Well, my question. Okay, so it's this new report out. For some reason, I don't know. Maybe it's just conjecture, hearsay, but because RG3 ran a 4.4840, teams are now interested in him again. Would you guys take a flyer on him? You think that would be a good fit?
Hell no. My issues with RG3 stem even before his football injuries. And this isn't a knock on him. He's a great athlete. He was a track star that became a college football player. Now, not to say that at this point he doesn't know football and things like that,
Right.
but there's certain instincts I think that are developed, especially in the younger years. Not to say that you got to play just football or just one individual sport, but yeah, you start to wonder, like when you get into these skill sets, you're talking about a very precise skill set. Being a wide receiver is more than just being fast and catching the ball. Even if you're just talking about doing, your routes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so yes, I mean, if if he was younger, I'd be more interested in it because there's more potential behind it. Maybe give him some time to get on an NFL speed, but I doubt he's out here running routes against NFL level cornerbacks. He ain't, practicing coming across the middle even in today's game.
All right. Okay. All right. So, anything else about the draft that you want to share with us, sir?
Honestly, I just love the story behind their first round pick, Icky, because it's not too often that you get to hear a story about a player who not only played their high school ball in the city, uh, there's literally pictures and imagery of him in the stands, in the end zone, uh, in a Thomas Davis jersey, 2015 NFC Championship. Like, that's just, went to NC State.
Some
And
man first.
but yeah, and then just the circle comes comes all the way around, gets drafted by his hometown team. You know, it's not one of those stories you hear too often. Usually it might be a fourth or fifth round pick, but first round pick, potentially cornerstone of your offensive line. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it goes back to saying I don't see how that was a wrong pick.
All right. All right. So let's all welcome our man Ferris. What's
Yeah,
going
man.
on, Ferris?
Yeah. I just woke up. I saw the link. I clicked it. That's pretty much it. Yeah. I
Oh,
don't
you.
know. Was I not supposed to click it?
Oh no, you good, bruh.
Oh, okay.
You good,
Okay,
bruh.
guys. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. I clicked it. Bro. I was like, I got time. Before school, before I got to get ready for school. Yeah, I want to come talk to the boys. Hell
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
for all y'all that don't know, our man Ferris is a New York Giant fan.
Yes, I am.
And how do you feel about how your draft went, sir?
So, all right. Yeah. So, like I said it. We were all on the LBHT draft show special. Rodney asked me how I first two picks A+. Knocked it out of the park, bro. Knocked it out of the park. Because here's the thing, man. I don't know where this narrative came that Kayvon Thibodeau isn't good at football or doesn't love football. I don't know where that narrative came from. That narrative is BS, right? It's funny too. That same narrative about that came to him about him. You know who they also put it on a couple years ago?
No.
This guy named Justin Herbert. Y'all know Justin Herbert, right? Y'all know Justin Herbert, right? Well, the best, one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. I mean, the man who basically carried the San Diego Chargers this year all by himself because they had no defense, and honestly, Mike Williams gets hurt on occasion. You know what I mean? Like that, like legitimately coming out of college, he was the QB3 because they're like, I don't think he loves football. I don't think he's a good leader. He's too quiet. He's not a gamer. You know what I mean? And then Kayvon Thibodeau he about his brand. He thinks about stuff outside of football. He don't love football. No. He loves football. He loves football. He also knows how to be a business about it because here's the problem. Players nowadays think about that too because they have realized that they're done being used. You're not just going to use me. I'm going to use football to make my life better, you know? But I also know I need to be good at football to be better. You know what I mean? Because you can't not be good at the golden goose that gets you to the dance.
Can't not.
Because what gets football players to the dance at like corporate meetings and all that good stuff is because they're good at football. If you're not good at football, no one's gonna care. So he knows he's been ready for this since his senior year in high school, Tony. Me and you have had multiple conversations about this kid. He has been the number one pick for 6 years. Then out of nowhere, he ain't it. He ain't it. This kid from Michigan that no one knew about for 3 years, that no one knew about, that just popped up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
He's better than him. But the kid that's been deemed the best since high school and proved it at Oregon, which is funny because he had to play for Willie Taggart, whack head coach. Then he had to play for Mario Cristobal, Mr. Handcuff and everybody, ain't very good at coaching. And you know what I mean? So, like, he's proved it amidst ragged odds at Oregon. You know, having to play for Willie Taggart. You know who Willie Taggart is, Tony.
Of course I know who. I know who Willie Taggart is, bro.
Yeah,
he's a horrible head coach, bro. And he took my Florida State Seminoles into the ground.
Exactly, man. So there's that. So I'm like, yo, we got him at 5? Hell yeah. And then we get the best offensive lineman at 7.
Second best.
Perspective, right? Because
Now, in my assertion, the best is the one that fits better with the team.
Exactly.
Because you have dudes drafted in later rounds that weren't considered the best, but they were the best fits.
Exactly.
So, we can argue semantics.
Absolutely. It's 6, 7. It really doesn't care. But he's the best for us. He's 6'7", 334 pounds, and he doesn't look fat. He looks lean, mean, fighting machine. Evan Neal, fire. That's all I gotta say.
That's all you gotta say about that?
That's all I gotta say. The man played right tackle, guard, and left tackle. He's played all 3 positions.
Didn't y'all draft somebody else?
We drafted two North Carolina linemen in the 4th round. But then after this is what I heard about this draft. After the top 15 picks, you don't know where people's boards were. So I can't really talk smack about those offensive linemen. I can't really talk smack about them because I didn't watch them. I don't know what their grades was. Shoot, they may be quality starters. They're both 6'6". They're huge. They're massive human beings. It's beyond insane. And Wan'Dale Robinson, he dominated the SEC. The man was 5'8", catching 104 balls for 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. At 5'8". That's crazy. Thank you, Graven. Hey, Graven, I've heard a lot of great things about you, man. You seem like a cool guy, bro.
All right. If y'all don't know, First is our resident police officer hype man. Gets everybody going. And Dirk is our betting stats guy. Like we
have focused on the Panthers. We were talking about the Panthers earlier. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about.
What? Oh, so
he says focus on the Panthers. We did focus on the Panthers.
Who said that?
I don't know. I don't know how to say his name. I have Horace Torres. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, listen, we talked about them. We're not gonna get into the Giants, but it is something. That's
why I only brought up the offensive lineman.
There is something that I did want to talk about. Yeah. And first, I mean, it's good that you came on at this time because I'm sure you might have a lot to say about this. I'm not sure, but I just want to get your thoughts on what happened as far as the punishment goes. Like, he fractured this man's elbow.
And it's only 2 games. It's only a game.
And he only got suspended for 1 game. And I don't know if it's because, I'm a Golden State Warriors fan. I remember when Gary Payton's father used to play, but for some reason, like when I saw that he only got 1 game for knocking a man out of midair, like I saw red.
Also, the media has started to go after each other. Warriors media and Memphis media. A Memphis media member tweeted out. Oh, so Dylan Brooks gets 1 game because Draymond Green doesn't get suspended because Brandon Clark knows how to fall better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So y'all remember that play where Draymond basically slaps Brandon Clark in the face, like straight up whacks him, and then grabs his jersey and kind of like drags him to the ground. But then as he's dragging him to the ground, he holds his head up from smacking the ground. And people were like, that's not a flagrant 2. It was a flagrant 2. Come, like, look at the video. But, like, he doesn't get suspended because Brandon Clark doesn't get injured. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. The man clotheslined the dude midair and hurt. Basically, like, why are you clotheslining this man? Like, why? At least at the end, Draymond tries to grab his
To
head.
make sure he didn't hurt himself.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. At least he tries to grab his head. It's still a flagrant too, but at least he grabs his head to make sure Brandon Clark doesn't whack his head on the ground. I love GP too. That man's athleticism, Tony, it's beyond crazy. I saw this man. He was standing still, grab the ball and rise up and dunk it. No run and start. And I'm like, you're not a human being. Like, no offense to his dad. His dad wasn't even this athletic.
Not at all.
Like, it was, I'm like, woo, you know what I mean? And you basically ruined this man's chance of playing the NBA. If the Warriors make the NBA Finals, Gary Payton ain't playing. He's out for the playoffs. Like, the elbow is
Yeah, I mean,
the
he's probably
way.
done.
Yeah, you don't know how hard it's gonna heal. You don't know how it's gonna, because injuries is different for different people. Like the calf strain, right? Like a calf strain. A couple years ago, KD had a calf strain. He was out for like 3 weeks in the playoffs. Luka Doncic had a calf strain. He was only out for like 3 games. That's weird, right? So like, you don't know. And you know what? I think he should have gotten more games. She got more games, like 3, 4, maybe. Because but I don't like how Steve Kerr was talking about a code. Like, oh, the code. You can't talk about no code when you have Draymond Green on your team, dog. You
Exactly.
can't. Like, you can't. Like, I'm sorry, you can't. Like, people
Yeah.
talk about like I'm not saying like Draymond is like kind of dirty. I'm not saying he's a dirty player. I'm not saying he's like Rick Mahorn.
He is.
Fine.
He's
By today's standards, he's dirty. But like I'm saying, like, he ain't Rick Mahorn. You know what I mean? Like, if he was Rick Mahorn, we would have an issue. But like, cause like the dudes kick dudes in the nuts. Did y'all see that? Y'all see that play? There was a video on Twitter where he tackles 2 Celtics players,
No.
and he doesn't get called for a foul. So like he like falls on top of Celtics player. He's all up on his face. Gets up, shoulder checks another Celtics player. Gets the inbound pass. No one calls a foul. And I'm like, what is this? Kicks Steven Adams in the nuts more than once. Has poked his fingers in multiple players' eyes. You know what I mean? So like, don't talk about me no code. Was it a dirty play? Yeah, it was. But you ain't got no right to say, oh, the code when Draymond Green on your team. Yeah, when Draymond Green on your team. If Draymond wasn't on your team, you can talk about code as much as you want. But you got Draymond. Ain't no code you can tell me.
Thanks.
I gotta follow when Dre's on your team. I'm sorry, you can't. I'm sorry.
Okay, Derek, would you like to slide your opinion in?
Sorry.
Well, one thing that crossed my mind, and I had a question for y'all. All right, if they had fought and was out there throwing blows, how many games would you give them?
They would. I feel like all of them would at least get 3 or 4 games.
4 games.
4 games.
Okay,
Like,
no, that more or less that's what I'm getting at. That's what it should be on par with.
Yeah.
If you feel like it should be 3, 4 games for fighting, that's what this should be.
Because literally it was a one-man fight.
That's what I'm saying. This ain't much different than if you had walked up on someone and just thrown 1, 2 to the jaw, and that was it. So yeah, like you said, it's a dirty play. You hate to see it. I think the player might, you could kind of tell after the fact, like he didn't want to hurt him, but he intended to do the act.
You send a message.
Yeah, exactly. And I can understand that logic a little bit, especially in basketball, because I was that type of player where, there's a price coming into the lane. Like, especially if you get into the basket, you better know I'm going to come put at least 1, 2 hard fouls on you, because you need to think twice about that. You coming into a different territory down here. Not, I'm going to take your legs out. But yeah, you gonna get a good body check in the air while I'm going for that block.
Indeed. All right, so we're gonna segment into our extra innings session where you guys can speak on any subject you feel worthy. And first, I know you have a lot to talk about because you can talk about anything.
I could, but I don't really have nothing on the mind right now. The Phoenix Suns. Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns, man. Phoenix Suns, they're making the NBA Finals. I don't care. I don't care who wins the Warriors Memphis series. The Suns winning. And like no offense, yeah, Phoenix Suns, bro. Devin Booker is the best shooting guard in the NBA. It's not a debate. There it is. That's what I want to say.
You say shooting guard, like there's much difference in any guard now in the NBA.
Yeah, you're right. Good point.
No, they're not making it past the Warriors, bro. The Warriors for the title.
Nah, man.
For the title.
Nah.
We're going to do what Los Angeles and LeBron James couldn't do. Finish off this season. How about that, Brodney?
Ooh, that's cold-blooded, brother.
I mean,
it's cold-blooded.
I'm still sitting with the Bucks plus 600. So, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right. So we have come to the end of this show.
One more thing, bro. You said it's extra innings, right? You said extra innings.
Okay, fair. Go ahead.
Baseball, man. Y'all saw what happened last night to the Phillies?
Nobody watches baseball for.
I didn't see specifically what happened, but
let me tell you what happened, dude. All right, so Tone, I know you don't watch it, but let me tell you what happened. All right, so they up 7-1 in the ninth, right?
Who is they?
The Phillies, the Philadelphia Phillies. They up 7-1 on the New York Mets, right? They about to shut it down. They're about to shut it down, right? They give up 7 runs in 1 inning, bro, and they lose 8-7. The Philadelphia Phillies had a 99.9% chance of winning this game.
Right.
And the Mets stole their soul. That's all I want to say.
And for the record, my parlay would have hit if the Blue Jays would have come through, not the Mets. Because I had the Mets. Yeah. And I seen the score and I was like, oh yeah, that's done. I pulled up something later on. I was like, oh, the Mets won. Now, if only the damn Blue Jays would have won.
Hey, man, and Graven finally realized that's Brodney. It's like, I was Brodney.
But this statement right here is factually correct. Nobody watches baseball.
And seeing what
it's a regional sport.
It's
a regional sport.
See, that's the beauty of someone like me. You ain't got to watch it. You ain't got to like it. I still find ways for you to make money off of it.
Derek, you would bet on the British cheese run if you could. You know
but the question, hold up. But the question is, am I winning on the British cheese run?
That's the point. Right. That's the question.
Okay. I'm just saying, y'all seen where old buddy hit me up and I got some Champions League games. You got anything? Well, I went 2-0, and I was just reaching into the bag to see what I could find.
Yeah, Derek be coming out with some stuff like Spanish marbles or something. Like, I got some
Spanish
over and
soccer.
underscore.
It's Mexican soccer.
League MX, folks.
He finds anything to bet on. Yeah. Anything. If they have odds on it, my man Weezy will find.
He'll give it odds. He'll find odds.
He'll find a way to win on it. So, like, if you want to check him out, just go to LBHT Lunch Money Bets. He's on every week, every Wednesday, giving out his sports predictions and his betting odds. So I would like for you gentlemen now to plug what you have going on.
Yeah, all right. I'll go first. Like your man said, you can catch me every Wednesday with LBHT. I also have my own channel that I started up, Backyard Action Media, where there will be a lot of betting content. And there'll also be a few things to keep your eyes out for in the future, a little more in-depth stuff into the sports world. You can get at me at DWeezy90 on Twitter. You can hit me up there with questions or, just to chop it up.
I'm Ferris. You can find me at Ferris Blown on Twitter. I'm on the Let's Get Ready Network. I do the sport. Yeah, it is the man with the hats. I do all the sports content over there. See me around LBHT chats. Do your thing. Pretty much.
All right. So make sure that y'all hit these gentlemen up. If you want more fire content, go over, like their videos, subscribe to their channels, comment, everything you can do to help them grow. Do the same for me. And I would like to thank you all for being a guest on my show today. And for everybody, have a great weekend and peace.